Hey guys, John here. Welcome back to another training from Ascension U. Today we're going to be diving into adaptive identity, why it's so important that you have adaptive identity and how it can set you up for success both in your personal and professional life. So let's dive right into the training. So this is part of our education series where we provide free content to you via our YouTube channel. We have trainings, we have certain resources, blogs, newsletters, tons of stuff that you can access to dive deeper. So today's concept is around who am I? What is my identity? And how does that drive what I do on a daily basis? Why is it important that we learn how to, what we call an adaptive identity? Well, number one is we're in a world that's changing every single day. And the people who actually get left behind are not the ones with low skill sets or not the ones that are not capable. It's usually the ones that are stubborn and are stuck in a certain identity from the past and not willing to adapt and be flexible to create more opportunities and choices for themselves. There's one guy that you might have heard before, Alan Watson. This is a quote of his, which for me really frames this conversation really well, which is you're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Such a powerful statement that really represents adaptive identity, that we can switch our identity, we can change how we see ourselves and who we are at any given moment. And that is what makes us different than every other species on the planet. So what are some of the problems that we typically see when it comes to identity? Number one, you've reached a certain ceiling. So you've hit your ceiling and now that limits your performance and your ascension. Number two is you're stuck in that old identity. You're stuck in an old way of thinking, an old way of operating. You're stuck using old systems and you haven't adapted to the new ways. Number three is you've outgrown your old mindset. So your mindset growth is still here, but your business or your professional career has ascended. So you've now outgrown that mindset that got you there in the first place. Just like the roots of a tree, they constantly have to keep growing new roots to get stronger and stronger. Otherwise, they're going to topple over, just like you and us as human beings, if we're not adaptive and if we're not flexible enough to deal with the challenges that come with life in general. All right, so let's briefly just frame this conversation from the perspective of, I want you to think about your career right now. I want you to think about your business and where have you allowed yourself to get stuck in an old identity? Where have you allowed an old story, an old pattern, an old label that someone gave you at one point in your life to stay small? That has stopped you from taking big actions, that has stopped you from thinking bigger, that has stopped you from executing on opportunities that you've been presented with. So in terms of ascension, in terms of our philosophy, an adaptive identity is the ability to consciously evolve who you are based on the version of life that's required right now, right? So based on the version that you're stepping into, you have the ability to adapt with it. You are flexible. You have that growth mindset. You know that these things are not fixed and you can change at having any given moment, and self-development is a great way of doing just that. So, where does this typically happen? Well, we've already touched on a couple of these where we cling to old identities that keep us bound. The one who can adapt will be the one who has the most opportunities. I want you to remember that. The one who can adapt will be the one with the most opportunities. Our ability to change is what makes us different as human beings. We have the ability to change. So a couple of actions to take based on what we have just explored here is number one, identity reframes. So reframing how you see yourself. Future self journaling, which is something I can certainly share more resources on when it comes to, if you haven't got access to our Mindset Journal workbook, just comment below and I'll certainly try and get you over a copy where there's loads of journaling prompts in there. And finally, pattern interruption, the ability to be able to interrupt a pattern. So let's break them down one by one. The labels you've given yourself. I am not this, or I'm this, or no one in my family's ever had a business. No one in my family has ever been an entrepreneur. No one in my family has ever succeeded. All of these labels that we create based off of stuff that's been passed down most of the time. Labels that were given to you in school. Labels that were given to you by friends, your peer group. So we have to first bring awareness to the pattern. If we don't know what the pattern is, then we can't interrupt it. So we have to first become aware of it. Next, we have to reframe it to a positive, empowering frame. For example, I am becoming a person who can. I'm becoming a person who can play the piano. I'm becoming a person who understands business on a higher level. I am becoming the person who is capable of leading, a 30-man team. All just examples for you. Next, we're going to be looking at future self and thinking, leaning into your future self via a journal. So this is going to be about journaling from the perspective of future you. It's an activity that I really like to do and I enjoy doing, and I really recommend for you to have a bit of fun with this. Get out a pen and paper and write a letter from your future perspective to the person you are today. So you're going to be sharing what goals you've accomplished. What did it feel like to accomplish those goals? And really lean into it. Have fun. Really try it on for yourself as if you've already accomplished it and you've already experienced it, and see the type of shifts that can have in terms of the narrative that you carry inside. Finally, then, we have to break patterns. We have to pattern interrupt. We have to make a mess. We have to break down the patterns that we currently have, which we first have to know the pattern, then we break the pattern, then we integrate a new pattern. This is how patterns are created, and we always have to first bring awareness to the ones that are serving us versus not serving us. Then we have to break the pattern, interrupt it, so we can then create a better pattern that aligns with the goals that we have. So your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is I want you to think about what would your life and business or relationships look like if you stopped leading from a past and started showing up as your future self? What would be different for you? And to really sum it up, it's change how you see yourself and everything changes. Change how you see yourself and everything changes for you. Couple of lessons to take away. You have the power to change who you are. Self-awareness is the panacea. It's the starting point for everything. And changing your mind and self-concept is a skill. Mindset's a skill. Emotional intelligence is a skill. Changing it requires repetition, but it means we can change it, because most of them are just internal narratives that we've told ourselves over and over that become familiar. We need to make them unfamiliar and make the stories we want to have the familiar patterns that we run. Your next steps is to download your Ascension Guide, which you can access in the description below, which will help walk you through some of this thing in more depth. And of course, if you haven't read the blog that goes with this training, you can also access that in the description. And of course, shoot me an email. Any questions you have, john@ascensionu.co, john@ascensionu.co. Any questions you have around this or any other matters, more than happy to answer it for you and help and support you where I can. So that is it for this week's training. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to drop us a like and a subscribe if you haven't already, to keep up to date with the content that's going to be coming your way soon.